If you're looking for a kick-ass gaming PC that can play the hottest multiplayer titles at over 100 frames a second, then awesome, you're in the right place. As this rig is going to introduce RGB into your gaming den, but it's actually a PC that really won't break the bank and requires no knowledge of PC building at all. Because yes, this is actually a pre-built system from the lovely guys over at PC Specialist. And the whole idea behind this video was to show you that you can actually get a very affordable, no compromise gaming PC for just under £750. Now this project all started when Nvidia and PC Specialist got in touch to sponsor this PC challenge head-to-head build video with our good old friend the Tech Chap. Wait, hello? Nvidia? What's that? We're giving this PC away as well? And they need to stay tuned to the end of the video to find out how to enter? That's fantastic. And using the PC Specialist configurator, you're essentially using all of the parts of your individual choosing to create your very own epic Fortnite machine. See what I did there? It is incredibly simple to use, and as you can see exactly how much each individual component costs. You can then quickly and easily get the system that's perfect for you, and because it's a pre-build, you'll know that it'll all work when it lands on your desk. I've done it again, you know, I've forgotten to take the side panel off, and it completely ruins my flow. Sounds a bit weird. Now the heart of any gaming system is of course this thing, the graphics card, the GPU, and here we are using Nvidia's 1660 Super. It's a graphics card that really strikes the perfect balance for price to performance, as at 1080p you're looking at frame rates over 100 frames a second in games like Apex Legends and Fortnite, so you're not only going to be able to run the game, but get a real, genuine advantage when you pair this with a high refresh rate monitor, thanks to lower latency and increased reaction times. The 1660 Super also comes with a few handy dandy features like support for adaptive sync monitors, automatic updating of drivers and game settings with GeForce Experience, and you also get the latest NVENC video encoder, which is great for capturing and sharing your gameplay in high quality without killing your frame rates. What is the dog doing? What is the dog doing? Now don't worry, we will of course be going over all of the benchmarks a little bit later in this video, but first I want to talk about the other components in this system, starting really with the case, and this is very striking to me. It's the Corsair 275R Airflow Edition, which as you can see the clear difference is on the front panel. You have this more open design, so it sort of looks from a distance like a solid panel, so it's got great aesthetics, but then it actually has plenty of airflow through the front and there are actually cracks through the side as well. I think that this is a great starter case for pretty much anyone, as it's a great looking bit of kit, but it isn't at all complicated, and that's no bad thing. Everything is very traditional, cable management options are good, and when you do decide to make an upgrade in the future, I'd wager that you're going to find it very easy to do so. We do of course need to talk about the CPU and the motherboard. And here we're actually using a last generation product, I know. It's the Ryzen 2600. The reason for this is actually pretty simple, as we're using our CPU for gaming performance only. So every penny we spend on the processor could actually go towards a beefier GPU, so it's important to get the right balance. The choice is pretty much between a second and third generation Ryzen 5 processor, and the newer chips are of course better bets, but at this moment in time, the old ones are around about £50 to £60 cheaper. So grabbing a 6-core Ryzen for around about £110 is a steal and comes highly recommended. And don't forget that in the future, you could quite easily drop in a Ryzen 7 or now even a Ryzen 9, so future upgrades are very possible as well. The motherboard that we're pairing it with is ASUS's B450 Plus. And I'll be honest with you and say that this is a pretty bare bones board, without any bells or whistles, yet it's actually exactly the ticket for this particular build. It not only supports CPU overclocking, but it actually has a surprising amount of fan headers, as well as an M.2 slot for a PCIe SSD, and even USB 3.1 Type-C on the rear. Nice. Now we're also saving some money on our cooler, and you might be thinking, well, this isn't the most attractive thing, why would you do that? Well, I've spoken about this in a recent video. This thing is free. Not the whole PC, just the cooler. It's not as efficient as some larger coolers. It's going to run a little bit louder. You won't have the full CPU overhead for overclocking. But bearing in mind that you're not paying any extra to buy it at a later date, it doesn't really matter. The only reason I would say to upgrade this now would be if you know you need it for any reason, or if you're just not that confident in installing it yourself. But I do assure you it is quite an easy upgrade to do. 2020 is actually proving a pretty good year so far for memory prices though, as both our RAM and SSD are pretty affordable. I decided to keep costs a little bit lower by only going for 8GB of RAM, as in my testing I haven't really run into any particular RAM issues, and I think I'm unlikely to in most games. And besides, it's going to take you 2 minutes, probably less, if you do want to upgrade to another set a little bit later if you need 16, so it's a pretty safe way to save yourself some money up front. This kit isn't the fastest at 2666 MHz, but then again, for a budget system, I wouldn't really say that this is a big deal. I am very impressed, however, that inside this rig, I've actually managed to fit in a 512GB SSD, which, bearing in mind that this is a more budget-friendly build, I think is amazing. The one we're using is a PC Specialist own brand SATA SSD, and I'd say that this is pretty much a cake and eat it situation, as we don't need to rely on dual drives and keep moving games around from the Windows install to the hard drive, and to be honest, by the time you've actually filled up all of this space with your favourite games, you're probably going to want to move on to some newer ones, or you'll have the budget for another SSD. Heck, maybe you'll even go PCIe next time. Either way, it doesn't really matter because this thing is very fast. It boots like a dream, it's very responsive to use, and for playing your favourite games, especially more in the single player ones when you're not relying on everybody else, it loads games like nobody's business. I don't know why I keep feeling the need to touch it up. Makes good noise though. Our compromise perhaps comes in the power supply department, as we're using a Corsair 450W VS series PSU. And there's nothing bad about this. It's from a reliable brand, it's built to last, and I've got a very good track record with Corsair power supplies. But as it's non-modular and it's very red and yellow, it's not the most attractive bit of kit out there. But this doesn't really concern me at this particular price point, as we're actually getting great value for money, and there is still a bit of room for future GPU upgrades. But having said this, if you think you're likely to jump ship to something very big next time, it may be worth looking at a 550W or a 650W power supply to be on the safe side, but this is ideal for what we're using here. I should also point out that we do actually have 2 additional things in this rig that bring our price point up to £742 in total. The first one being that copy of Windows, but you can of course take this off if you have your own or if you want to install it yourself or whatever you choose to do. And there are also 2 RGB strips in the side that give it this lovely glow, and you can customize this in the software. But I have excluded the Wi-Fi card that I accidentally put in this that brought it to £250, I think exactly. But I think the question you're probably wondering is, how does this thing perform? And in a nutshell, pretty darn well. This is a PC all about high refresh rate gaming without breaking the bank. And that is exactly what we've got here. The graphics card is aimed at 1080p gaming at over 100 frames a second, and it far exceeded that in each of the multiplayer titles that I threw at it. Esports games like CSGO go above and beyond this, and even a 240Hz monitor wouldn't actually be out of place with this PC. But in the more mainstream, harder title like Apex Legends, PUBG, we still see well above that magical 100 frames a second for super smooth gaming that will give you a competitive edge in the battlefield. I was keen to push this even further though, and as a lot of systems now get paired with ultrawides, this would actually be a great fit for that, or even maybe a larger 1440p display. Either way, I'm incredibly happy with this thing. It was nice to actually not have to build it for myself, although I will confess I did move one of the cables around because I'm OCD and I like doing things my way, but they did a very good job of neatly sort of putting everything in place, and I'd be very happy to call this my own. Overall, I'm a huge fan of this build, as it proves that if you want a reliable gaming PC without spending an arm and a leg, you can actually get so much for your money, even if you're not building it yourself. If you do want to look at any of the parts featured in this, then you can check out all of the parts listed down below. And if you want to spec this up yourself, hit the PC Specialist link. It's all very simple, easy to use, and you can get an accurate price so you know exactly how much everything's going to cost. Thank you so much for checking out this video though, I really appreciate it. If you've liked it, you know what to do, hit that like button, it really does help out, you really wouldn't believe. As I say, all the links are down below, and obviously get subscribed for more builds just like this. And if you want to have a go at doing it yourself or just see some other price points, then you can find all of these in the end screen. And of course, you can check out Tom's video there as well. And of course, don't forget that if you do want to win this computer, it is so simple. Simply go into the description below. You'll find all of the rules, the T's and C's, including geographical restrictions, because this one is only open to certain countries. So please read this before you enter. But otherwise, it is just a case of following me on Instagram and Twitter, along with PC Specialist and Nvidia. But as I say, all the T's and C's are located down in the description below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.